When you think of Vikings, what comes to mind? Probably fierce warriors and longships, raiding monasteries and terrorizing coastlines, right? Names like Ragnar Lothbrok or Ivar, the boneless echo through history. But what if I told you about a Viking invasion that history often overlooks? An invasion that wasn't just about loot and plunder, but about something much more permanent: land. Let's travel back to the early 10th century. The Viking Age is in full swing. While raiding parties are hitting England and France, another group of Norsemen sets its sights on a different prize: a rugged, sparsely populated peninsula in northwestern France. This land would soon be known as Normandy, literally the land of the Northmen. The leader of this venture wasn't just another brute. It was a man named Rollo. Now, Rollo's origins are debated. Some say he was Norwegian, others Danish, but one thing is certain: he was a brilliant strategist and a charismatic leader, and his followers weren't just hit-and-run raiders. They saw the fertile river valleys of the Seine and realized their potential. They started by sacking cities like Rouen, but then they did something different. They stayed. They overwintered, built fortified camps, and began to farm the land. This was a new kind of threat for the Frankish king, Charles the Simple. He couldn't just wait for them to leave with their loot. They weren't leaving. His armies fought them for years, but the Vikings were tenacious. They were no longer just sea raiders. They were becoming a permanent, embedded force in his kingdom. This led to a groundbreaking moment in 911 AD. King Charles, tired of the constant fighting, offered Rollo a deal. It's known as the Treaty of St. Clair-Sept. Charles would grant Rollo and his men the lands they already occupied, from the river Ept to the sea. In exchange, Rollo had to do three things: swear allegiance to the king, defend the kingdom from other Viking attacks, and convert to Christianity. Rollo agreed. He was baptized, took the Christian name Robert, and became the first ruler of what was now the Duchy of Normandy. This wasn't a conquest in the traditional sense. It was a political settlement. It was an invasion that ended not with a final, bloody battle, but with a handshake and a treaty. The Vikings had effectively traded their longships for castles, their raiding axes for ducal titles. And this is where the story gets really interesting. These Norsemen didn't just rule over the local Galorman population. They assimilated. Within a few generations, they had adopted the French language, French customs, and French military tactics, particularly the use of heavy cavalry. They kept their Norse spirit of adventure and ambition, but fused it with Frankish culture. It became the Normans. This transformation is what makes this invasion so unique. The Vikings of Normandy didn't just they created one of the most powerful and dynamic states in medieval Europe, and their story didn't end there. Just over 150 years later, one of Rollo's direct descendants would launch an invasion of his own. His name was William, and in 1066, he would conquer England, becoming forever known as William the Conqueror. So, the next time you picture Vikings, remember Rollo and his followers. Remember the invaders who became dukes, the pagans who became Christians, and the Northmen who became Normans. It's a powerful story of adaptation and ambition, an invasion not just of swords and ships, but of settlement and legacy, proving that sometimes the quietest conquests are the ones that change the world the most. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into a lesser-known part of history, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories you won't find in the usual textbooks. See you next time.